All right, sir. We'll start with more like a personal question. We have seen you not just be relevant in the body of Christ, but even in your secular work, you're doing great. How did you get to this point? Because the truth is that for someone like you, you see, not just church, if you get to any place, your voice is known there. How do you get to this point, sir?
So, number one, knowing what you want. Number two, going for what you want. And number three, keep going for what you want. You know. I think most people don't get past the first stage of defining what they really want because there are too many distractions in life. And so many times you find out that if you don't define what you want, who you want to be, life has a way of ensuring that you keep moving. So there's no dull moment, you keep moving, just that you're not in control, you're not in charge. So I would say that I didn't get to know what I wanted early on in life. But when I was in secondary school, at some point, my dad put me during the holidays in to be an apprentice to a wood designer. So this guy is an artist and he uses wood to design stuff. So I was an apprentice there during the holidays. And that was my first exposure to work. I believe personally that the system out there in some developed countries where students are allowed to intern, to work, helps a lot. So that exposure really affected me, changed the way I saw money, changed the way I saw life, And I thought that was what I was going to do, but then I continued, wrote my SSCE, passed, and then I went to the Polytechnic. And when I got to the Polytechnic, by this time I was already born again. When I got to the Polytechnic, I became one of the leaders in the fellowship where I attended and continued. Eventually, I went back to the uni to do my BSc. But I would say probably the defining moment in my life came when I got to the uni and I was exposed to reading some books. That's the way I put it. I read some books. It changed my thinking, it changed my paradigm, it changed my worldview, and it began to help me to define, at least for the first time, who I wanted to be. I've always been brilliant. I was doing well in school. So result was not a problem. But defining who I wanted to be, that was not there. So I did that. By the time, before I left school, I had set up a company. Okay? I borrowed money from my dad, came to Lagos, bought some computers, and set up a company where we were doing some business stuff there, typing stamp papers and doing all those kind of things for people. And we were making money. In fact, we were making money to the point that I hired 2 staff. So I had 2 staff, I rented a place on campus, and we were doing that. By the way, I started making money myself too, because before I started my own, I was going to a place on our student union building where I would type in the night and make money. So making money in itself, I think that people should be exposed early to making money, because the way you value money changes when you make money. When you don't make money, no matter how much you are given, you don't value it. You may think you are valuing it, but you are not valuing it. The money you make, now see, if you make 20,000 naira, you will value it more than if you are giving 1 million naira. Huh? So making money began to change my view and all of that. So I set up a company. Because I had set up a company, I wanted to serve at Ife where I had schooled. But God had another plan for me. I was sent to Delta State. When I got to Delta State, things also changed. So number one was reading. Number two was exposure. When I got to Delta State, we were on camp 3 weeks. We came out, I was sent to Warri, and I was posted to Shell. When I entered Shell, it was my first time in my life. Some of you may not know, I grew up at Ife all my life. But it was the first time in my life of seeing such a big building. It was big, it was massive. Well, eventually they rejected me, they didn't take me. But then, where I was, I had a few Chevron people, and there was the need to go and do mission work on Escravos. Escravos is in Delta State. And somehow they put us on Chevron ship. My goodness. It changed my life. My mind almost blew. You know, the food we were given, the quality of food, the ambience around. I knew that I would never be stupid again in my life. You know. That's what exposure does to you. So, I interacted with Shell people. I interacted with Chevron people. But this time, exposure began to come in. Exposure brings knowledge. Then one day, I got talking with a guy who works with Shlom Bijay. And somehow, I got to have an idea of his salary. I almost entered the ground. Well, I had an idea of my dad's salary. My dad was a director in the government circle. And when this guy told me his salary, my head almost blew up. You know? There are people that aren't like this in this Nigeria. So I made up my mind I will be one of them. So exposure began to come in. For me, I think that one of the things you can invest in the most in your life is exposure. And living in Lagos helps you with that because some exposure are free. There are parks, there are places you can go to. Some exposure are cheap, you know. So all of that started. Don't forget at this time I was still serving. My mind began to open up. I saw that I would never go and stay in my father's place again because I saw that God not allowing me to serve where my business was an answered prayer. You know, I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know that what I was praying for would not lead me to what I wanted. So my business was too small, two computers. I almost cried that there's life like this. So exposure mattered a lot. Eventually, I got a place to serve with Chartered Bank. Now, how did I get it? One of my friends was serving with them. And because he worked so well and he worked with integrity, they asked him if he had another person like him who had integrity and good work ethics. And he mentioned me, he said, oh yes, I have a friend. He called me. And he said, I should come over. So I went to see. Eventually I got that role. Number 3, relationship. I believe that relationship will get you what many things will not get you. So through him, I got to serve in Chartered Bank in Warri. And they used me. But listen, sometimes to have what you need, you have to give what you have.
Yes, sir.
So they used me, but I am thanking them officially today that they used me. Because it helped me build resilience. It helped me build knowledge. It helped me build a good work culture, work ethics. Well, I served with them. I left. When I left, went back to Ife, trusting God for what was next, I got a call from them. And they said, Wale, would you like to work with us? I said, yes. And my boss then said, but it's going to be in Port Harcourt, not Warri. I said, I'm open to it. So you see our relationship. I mean, I was always friendly in the office, always playing with them, doing my work as I ought, and all of that. In fact, they gave me glowing recommendations. So I believe that really helped you. I said, yes. So that was it. That was how I got to Port Harcourt. Don't forget, reading started. So I was still a voracious reader. I was still reading a lot. I believe that a lot of transformation will happen to people if they read a lot. Nobody can give you the syllabus of your life. You will need to find out your own syllabus, because God has designed you not to be me. God has designed you to be you. But in reading, you'll find a lot more about it. So, got a job in Port Harcourt. Another friend sent to me one of the days, said, have you seen this job opportunity? I applied. Went for interviews and all of that, and the rest is history. So, not to overflog this matter, I would say, number one, read, 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 read. Reading expands your mind. Reading deepens your thoughts. Reading helps you to question the status quo. Number two, exposure. You can't beat that. You can't beat exposure. God wanted to get the Gentiles, and he had to wait until he saved Paul, because he couldn't send Peter. As anointed as Peter was a fisherman. Peter didn't have the open mind that Paul had. Even after the Gentiles were saved, Peter still had a problem with them. So, exposure. Expose yourself to things happening in the world around you. We can be exposed as children of God while not committing sin. Number three, build relationships. It is not a virtue when you say, by the grace of God, as you look at me, I don't have any friends. It sounds spiritual, right? But it's not good. You're going to be missing out of a lot of things. Have friends. At a point in my life, I checked some of my old friends, particularly those that were doing well, those that I knew that I could learn from, and those that, of course, could also benefit from me. That kind of camaraderie, helps a lot, that kind of collaborative effort. Build relationships. Always be building relationships. Set targets for yourself. I want to have a relationship with somebody in Kenya. I want to have a hand in America. I want to have somebody there. So that if tomorrow you say to yourself, I know one person in all the countries of the world. So build relationships, spend time with a relationship. I would say that these are some of the things that help, but then you define where you're going, and you have the courage to set out. That's one of the things that has also set me apart. I have courage. I have started a business before. In fact, not one. I started a business when I was in primary school. I started one when I was in the university. I started one after I started working. So I've been like a pioneer. I have a pioneering spirit. Then we have started church. It takes courage to get started. And I remember when I got to Abuja, it was just me and my family. We didn't know anybody. When we were in Port Harcourt, I didn't also know anybody, but we had made some friends. But in Abuja, no. We can get started. I can get started. And we started Abuja Church. So, courage. I have courage. I believe that you must have courage. And courage comes when you don't have the fear of failing. The worst that can happen is that you say it didn't work. And we own up to it that, yeah, I tried, it didn't work. But you don't want people to talk. So courage, determination, hard work. One thing with me, if I want to get it done, I will get it done. If I don't get it done, it's because I'm not yet ready for it. So if we want to get it done, we get it done. Arrange things around you and make it work. I would say that those are some of the things that has led me to where I am today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you put your hands together for Jesus?